Hello! Welcome to another episode of Mega Manga Monday. I am Jason Hahn, and today we're talking about One Piece, chapter 1061. And, oh man, just last week came with all kinds of revelations, and this one was no exception. We had lots to talk about. But I am Jason Hahn, writer for ScreenRant.com, and I happen to write a lot of video game related stuff for the website, but I'm a huge manga fan, so we decided to start Mega Manga Mondays to talk about the series we love. And one of them today is obviously One Piece. So we're going to be talking about the newest chapter, and I got another buddy to talk about it with me today. Ben, how's it going, man?
Going good. I'm Ben. I'm also a writer at Screen Rant in the comic section, so I write about manga, DC Comics, Marvel Comics, the works. And One Piece is actually my favorite manga of all time, so I'm very excited to talk about this chapter, especially given we got something that we've been waiting for an extremely long time. So I'm hype.
Yeah, very. This is a very hype-inducing chapter. I feel like the last few have just been amazing, one after another. But this one felt a little bit different, honestly. Like, for me personally, the last couple chapters of One Piece have just been so jam packed with information. It feels like each one could be a whole volume of manga by itself. That's definitely how many revelations and reveals that each chapter has had. And this chapter was kind of the first one that just felt more like, I wouldn't say so huge because it obviously was huge, but it's just we're covering so many things around the One Piece world after Wano. We're getting everybody caught up on what's going on, what other characters are doing, how the world has changed, how everything is getting set up for this final war. And so this chapter kind of focused on the Straw Hats getting to what seems to be the next island. And it just, we're finally like, this is the beginning of like this next arc, essentially. This feels like the first episode of a new arc. So it felt like less, I don't know if I want to say exciting. It's just because, all the other huge things that were going on, but it's just incredibly interesting because we're finally getting a look into characters and things that we've had teased throughout the entire time. We kind of called it in previous podcasts. We're like, oh man, we should really meet Vegapunk soon. That's got to get set up. And sure enough, here we are on Egghead Island. Apparently, an island that is 500 years ahead of the rest of the world technology wise. They say it might even be 500 years into the future. But well, boy, just a lot of revelations with that. I don't know. I almost think we should start with the cover page because we got another chapter or another panel for the emotionless excursion, and I think it's safe to say that Sanji's siblings have escaped with Gastino in tow.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because I think this is one of the longer cover stories that has shown up in One Piece. Like 19 chapters of the cover story, which I don't know what the longest is offhand, but that seems pretty long.
Yeah, especially when, this was going on while the Kaido fight was still going on, which just feels like a whole it feels like a whole lifetime ago at this point at the pacing
Yeah.
that One Piece is going at. But yeah, I mean, this could be the this final panel of this emotionless excursion, but it would be nice to get kind of a clue into where Germa 66 is planning on going after they escape. So maybe we'll get another little clue into that.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how they play into later events, like which side they'll fall on in the eventual war.
Yeah, because we eventually, of course, need to get to Sanji, one upping them essentially, because it was definitely established in Whole Cake that, he's not so far above them power wise. They have these indestructible bodies, but he's definitely leveled up after Wano. He's a new Sanji. Maybe not in the brain, but definitely with the brawn. So that's inevitably a encounter I'm very excited to see. Maybe he'll just embarrass all of his brothers. I don't know. But as soon as this chapter started out, it kind of kicked up to where we left it. The Straw Hats had encountered Bonnie in some weird orb of water, and it's icy, it's perilous, it's, classic Grand Line sailing. You have no idea what the hell is about to happen. The environment can change at any moment. And what happens to this new Emperor of the Sea and his crew? Well, it's the biggest shark we've possibly seen in the series is about to swallow them up. And it feels a lot like the beginning of Wano, to be honest. Like, we're doing the whole, like, separating the crew, getting your different groups set up. And, yeah, we got Jinbei, Luffy, Bonnie, and Chopper in their own. And yeah, I don't know, man. Do you think this feels a little too much like Wano?
I actually feel like it's kind of like Wano, but the difference between this and Wano is that Wano had all these characters already established in their places, right? This honestly feels to me a bit more like Thriller Bark in a way, where like the crew separates more organically and they're discovering the island. Basically, they're all discovering the island at the same time, just in different groups. So I like the introduction here. I feel like it feels a bit different from Wano because Wano was built up to for so long, and this feels a lot more spontaneous. Even though Vegapunk has been built up for so long, you know.
Yeah, because it's revealed that this gigantic shark is actually a robotic shark, and it ends up capsizing the Sunny because it is quite formidable, and then some giant robot just appears out of nowhere that says Vega. Oh, I gotta zoom in here. Vega Force One, number 12, and
Yeah.
so is this might be the 12th robot that Vegapunk has made, or who knows? But it takes out it one punch mans the shark. It punches it so hard it seems to explode. Not 100% sure there, but man, Jinbei gets kind of MVP here. Like, as soon as the boat started to have some turbulence, he instantly was like, "Frankie, take the helm, go around. I'm gonna go get Captain and the other two Devil Fruit people who are in the water right now," and instantly comes up with a plan and dives in and saves them. And it just kind of solidified Jinbei as the crewman, as the helmsman. Like,
Yeah, and I'm really happy with the group breakdowns because I feel like Jinbei and Chopper have not been getting much highlight. Uh, like they got their own moments in Wano, but like overall, Jinbei is still very new to the crew, and like Chopper's just kind of been there for a while, and it'll be nice to see them actually like doing stuff together with Luffy, probably serving an important role in this arc. And I assume also that Frankie's going to serve an important role in this arc as well, but we'll have to see how that develops because he's the robot guy,
yeah.
and this is an island of robots and stuff. So
Well, yeah, it was actually like when the time skip happened, he ended up getting horribly hurt in some sort of explosion, and then for those 2 years, he was just studying like Vegapunk's notes and using them
yeah,
to upgrade himself too. So it's honestly, it's about time. Personally, I feel like Frankie has been kind of a side character for a very long time. Other than being the guy who builds the stuff, we haven't gotten a lot of like character development for him or a lot of like character development, of course, but expanding Frankie's everything.
yeah,
if that makes any sense.
yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. I mean, Frankie's big like character moments came from like all the way back in Water 7 and Ennie's Lobby. And since then, he hasn't really had any huge character moments. Like he had a fight with Senor Pink and Dressrosa, and but besides that, he's just kind of yeah. I mean, he ran over Big Mom. That was fun.
That was cool.
Yeah, but he's just kind of been there. So this is a chance for Frankie to actually take a more active role. So I'm excited to see what happens there, and I'm curious to see if there will be something like I brought up Thriller Bark earlier, and that our Chopper met like one of his idols, like one of these
Oh,
doctors that was famous or
Hogback.
something. Yeah, and it turned out, very it was like don't meet your heroes sort of thing. And so a very similar thing could happen with Frankie here, where Frankie's like, "Oh, you're Vegapunk. I know so much about you. Like you're so cool." And then he realized that Vegapunk is actually not a very good person, because it seems like Vegapunk is not a very good person given
Yeah.
all that they've done.
Well,
Uh,
it's very up in the air because there's been times where Vegapunk has done things that have resulted in horrible calamities, and then there's some things that has been hinted at that are just like, okay, there's something more to this Vegapunk guy. Uh, that we think that Vegapunk could be the one to reveal the secrets behind the devil fruits. They've figured out how to be able to clone devil fruits, as in this case of Momo's dragon fruit, and they developed all the pacifistas, and they also did all the work on Kuma to turn him into whatever he became. But I believe he also ordered Kuma, or they, we're not 100% sure on the 100% identity of Vegapunk at this point. Personally, I'm not convinced that it's the person that showed up at the end. I think they're using that body as a puppet or something. We'll get more into that, but
and it
apparently,
could also be Vegapunk's kid too, because
yes.
Vegapunk is like a last name, or it could be a family name, right? So it's like, well, of course I'm Dr. Vegapunk. My father's also Dr. Vegapunk. Uh,
That's a great theory. I hadn't thought about that. That'd be very interesting if there's a whole Vegapunk family, kind of the new Don Quixotes. Um, but yeah, that's kind of one thing about. I forgot where I was going. You sidetracked me, Ben.
yeah, sorry, I just had to jump in with my own pet theory.
No, it's a great one. But yeah, I'm just very excited to see how Frankie and Vegapunk interact because I think you're 100% right. It's very similar to Chopper meeting Hogback, and their relationship quickly deteriorated. And Vegapunk apparently told, this is what I was going into. Vegapunk apparently told Kuma to protect the Thousand Sunny during the time skip. And Kuma protected the ship. And when the first person arrived at the ship, I think it was Zoro. They like walked
I
in.
might just be misremembering, but I thought that was Kuma's like last condition before he gave himself completely over, before basically his personality got snuffed out.
Oh, possibly. I
But
had seen
I
some
didn't think that
YouTuber
was.
talking about it, and that's how they reminded me of that. So they could be wrong too. I'm
Mhm.
not 100%.
I
It's
could
been a
be
while.
misremembering as well. We'll have to find out Vegapunk's motivations and exactly how evil or good they are.
Yes.
But um, I mean, the way I view Vegapunk so far, just from their initial introduction and all that, like being distracted by the technology more than just like the pirates in front of them, and like how they say, "Oh, I'm just a humble genius scientist." Like I sort of view them so far as like they're all about the technology. They don't really care about how it gets applied. Vegapunk makes the technology and then gives it to the government, and they might care like, oh, how is it performing, or how is it not performing, or what optimizations I can do on it. But like I don't think they care beyond that. So I don't. I mean, they had to be directly involved with Kuma to like actually make Kuma into whatever thing he is now. But like, I don't think that they had any malice in their heart when they did that,
Hmm.
or that they're like telling Kuma what to do after he's the robot pacifista. So
Yeah, I think it'd be really, really interesting. I mean, it's been established that this new island we're approaching, Egghead Island, is the location of Vegapunk's main lab. I almost wonder if it's going to be like a Tony Stark sort of situation. At least MCU Tony Stark, how he starts out and he's just, it was like, oh yeah, I've helped develop all these things, and then he gets attacked by one of the things he creates and then is forced to look at all the harm his creations have done. I wonder if maybe that's where Vegapunk is at in their lives, as they've just been building all these things on this island and the government's just been buying them or something, and they need to, realize the damage that they've been doing. Or they know 100% what they're doing and they are just evil scientists and it's going to be another hogback situation. And Frankie's going to have to rise up and surpass the Vegapunk. But this Vegapunk character is just. Oh, did you have something?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say on that note, an interesting direction that it could go is if there are multiple Vegapunks, then the Straw Hats could convince one Vegapunk that, the work that they're making is being used for evil with the government. And then it's like Vegapunk versus Vegapunk.
Well,
But
possibly.
that'd be an interesting direction to go.
Yeah, that's something that I thought would have been pretty cool with the Dom Flamingo family. Is just the whole family was just consistently evil, and they didn't really have
Well,
one.
Corazon wasn't.
Oh well, was he like officially one of the family?
I mean, he was the only one of the family related by blood to Doflamingo.
Oh, was he? Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that. Huh. Well,
Yeah,
speaking.
because he was Doffy's brother. So,
Oh man, that makes it all sadder.
yeah, no. Uh,
Well, speaking of Don Flamingo, and kind of the next part of this chapter, before we get more into Vegapunk and everything else that was revealed to us, we jump over to Naval Branch G14, which is apparently a nearby island to Egghead Island, and it's where they're taking care of all the kids that were on Punk Hazard. That were being experimented on and getting addicted to drugs. And the more that they ate the drugs, they pretty much became giants. So Toshigi is taking care of these kids with other members of Sword, which is Kobe's and Drake's like secret organization. And it's kind of Garp's, isn't it? These are all.
yeah.
Yeah, Sword is essentially like Garp's secret good guy Marines. And one interesting thing is, as we're getting revealed to some of these Marines that were here, not all of them have the Sword designation. So it's kind of interesting that some of them are having to be like undercover, while others are just normal Marines and stuff. And we're introduced to Vice Admiral Dahl. We don't get to meet a whole or know her a whole lot. We didn't get a lot of details on her, but her design is very cool.
I think she was actually introduced in a previous chapter way back when. I could be mixing her up with another female Marine, but or I guess it's unclear what their gender is. But I think they were introduced like in the Reverie arc, although I could be misremembering because they introduced a couple Marines there. But yeah, I mean it's nice because like the Sword stuff happens in like a different area from the regular Navy stuff. So it's like they're two different departments almost on the same island.
Yeah, and I kind of brought the Don Flamingo thing up because we're introduced to another character, Prince Gruss, who is a rear admiral. And apparently they were in the cover story of Chiffon and Beige having to rescue Chiffon from Dressrosa, or his crew members. But yeah, we have Himepo pretty much begging them to be able to take some of the Seraphim, or at least one of the Seraphim, to go rescue Kobe. And that's kind of how they explain that. It seems like all the Seraphim are on Egghead Island, where our Straw Hats are currently. And we just saw the terrifying might of the Seraphim, and that's that could be something.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how the Straw Hats react to the Seraphim, because they look like children. There's the question, are they actually children that have been experimented on and turned into robots, kind of like how Kuma was? Or are they just completely robots? Or, what's the deal there? And it's especially good because, like, how's Bonnie going to react? It's great that we have Bonnie with the crew now because Bonnie has gone through this firsthand with Kuma, because presumably Bonnie knew Kuma before he was pacifistified. So she'll be able to see this and recognize it for what it is, potentially. So that'll be interesting. Maybe we'll get more Kuma backstory as well. Like, A lot of good potential revelations to come, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you hear so many theories on where the series could go next. And yeah, I never would have guessed. I mean, I don't know what any of the new island, I don't know what any of the islands are, but it's just such a like narrative rich location. Like there's so many
Mm.
mysteries that we're just waiting to be unraveled about Vegapunk, which is why it makes this all so exciting to finally get to Egghead Island, which I think is a great name for it. And we even get kind of a look at what the island looks like. It's kind of shrouded in clouds, but it almost looks like a big cracked egg with some sort of like halo around it almost. It almost looks like an angry evil Pac-Man, like opening up its mouth and some sort of halo around it. But just
Yeah,
they introduce it as a place 500 years into the future, which would make sense because Vegapunk is apparently just so wicked intelligent that it makes sense that they would improve this island to be way better than it should be. But we don't get to see it yet. Just a lot of tease.
yeah, but I'm hyped to see like that silhouette is oh, it looks so good. And like I don't know, this whole chapter just got me so excited for what's to come because Oda just knows how to deliver on these little pieces that he sets up along the way. Uh, and he's been laying the groundwork for this one for forever. So like I expect this to be great because Oda generally meets these sort of very high expectations and even surpasses them. So it'll be nice to have like a potentially shorter arc than Wano right after it because Wano was so long in the same place. And now we're at this new location, which seems like it will be very different from Wano was. Uh,
In
so I'm
many
very excited.
ways, and it's something I've just realized too, is like Wano is supposed to represent like olden times, and they've been stuck away from all the progress that the world has had and stuff like that, and so we're literally transitioning from the oldest to the newest, and we're going to from an island that was being held back to an island that has exceeded everything else. So it's just polar opposites, and it almost makes me more disappointed that like Yamato's not with them. It would be so interesting to see
Mm.
Yamato's reaction to all this future stuff that they're about to see. Like having somebody who's lived on Wano their entire life being suddenly thrust into like a sci-fi futuristic village just sounds really funny to me.
Yeah, but I mean, I am happy with how the Wano, how Yamato's like the explanation behind their
Yeah.
staying on Wano.
Yeah.
I'm happy with how that turned out. Uh, Even though like week to week it was like, oh, this is not the best. I think overall it's the best for the series.
Yeah.
Um, it also gives us a reason to go back there later on, beyond just Pluton.
Yeah,
So
I'm
I'm excited to
sure.
see what happens.
Yeah, I'm sure Oda has something in the future planned for Yamato, and I'm sure it'll all pay off. Just it would have been an interesting dynamic, but
Yeah, but it's like the same sort of thing as like, leaving Vivi behind on Alabasta. It's like, it would have been so nice to have her continue on with the crew because Vivi was such a fun character. But
mhm.
uh, you know, there's higher duties
Yeah,
to these characters than like
dude.
just. Now, I mean, that is the sort of joke One Piece would make. But yeah, they've got higher responsibilities.
Yeah.
And yeah, no matter how disappointing it may be, it makes sense.
Well, speaking of not disappointing, the next part of the chapter, we get with Luffy and Jinbei and Chopper and Bonnie as they're drying off. And we get a little fanfare. Everyone loves Bonnie all of a sudden. But I mean, she needed to do her introduction, and she made quite the introduction. But it's kind of the little bit of personalities that we've had. Like, we've barely spent any time with Bonnie, but anytime she's on screen, she just doesn't care. Like she's just doing what she wants to do. She loves food, maybe more than Luffy. It'll be interesting to see them in a restaurant together, just competing against eating the most food. But yeah, as they're drying off, she's like, A, thanking them and saying that they're enemies, but also the whole world thinks that Luffy has white hair now. So it's just kind of interesting that we're getting, like some of the world's reaction to Luffy's recent accomplishments, and that's something that we would love to hear more about. But Luffy explaining it as in, oh yeah, that's what I look like when I'm free.
Yeah, that's a great moment for me. Like I love that, and also the little pose that he does.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just it's super good. And I get like major like sort of kid Luffy vibes where like he's like, oh, we're enemies and stuff, and Luffy's like, yeah, we're enemies, and but they're like they're frenemies, you know.
Yeah.
They're,
Yeah, we're
uh,
enemies, but thanks for saving me. No problem, Boggy. Which
yeah.
apparently is a big thing. If Luffy gives somebody like a cute nickname, then that means they're not going to be on the crew.
Hmm.
Apparently, that's
I,
been a common thing.
is that a thing? Oh wow, I never noticed that.
Yeah, it's something the internet told me. So the internet is never
Well,
wrong.
I mean that happened with Yamato, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe that was
So
more ammo onto that theory or that development. But
maybe, but Yamato is kind of part of the crew, like in a similar way to Vivi, right?
yeah. Oh, for sure.
So
Well, another thing Bonnie reveals is that the giant shark ate her ship. Um, I don't know if we were ever introduced to her crew, but if her
I
whole
don't think
crew just
so.
yeah, if her whole crew just died, she's taking it very well. Um, but I kind of just love like the only people like who wouldn't react super comically to Bonnie being topless are not here. It's all people who
Yeah,
don't really care.
yeah, which is it's very nice not having Sanji here being like, whoa, you know, with the nosebleed and stuff.
All
Uh,
right. I love your impression of Sanji when he's losing it. Oh,
yeah, I mean, the hard eyes, the like, you know, get Sanji and Pudding back together. You know, the sooner you can end Sanji's lechery, the better.
yeah,
Uh,
right. Uh, well, another thing about Bonnie is she's explaining that she's got a bone to pick with Vegapunk. And it's been
yeah.
alluded to that she has a very strong relationship with Kuma. I've kind of did some research because last podcast I thought I had mentioned that I thought I had heard somewhere again from the internet that Bonnie and Kuma might have been like king and queen of a kingdom. But I read a little bit more into it, and that was never really established. Some people think that she could be Kuma's daughter. There's all kinds of theories going around, but just for some reason, she has a very strong relationship with Kuma, which is possibly what led her to hunting down Vegapunk to get answers on or revenge. Really,
Yeah.
so
I'm more in the camp that it's like father daughter relationship, or like maybe not, you know, by blood related father daughter, but like that sort of thing where it's like Kuma protecting her when she was young
yeah,
and basically assuming a father role. Um, and yeah, because like the last we saw of Bonnie, she like saw Kuma on Mary Joie and like was trying to go in and save him. So unclear how well that worked if she joined up with the Revolutionary Army troop that was also there at the same time to free him, uh, or if she just like failed at doing that. So she was like, "I'm just gonna track down Vegapunk and get him to, or get her, or get them, you know, to change Kuma back."
that could be her goal. I mean, yeah, we don't know yet. It's exciting to see how, because I mean, we have this actually seems like a perfect like pairing because we have all of that stuff being led with this group, and then everything else that's going on. Like we have obviously Frankie, Nami, Zoro, Usopp, um, and Robin, and everybody else apparently getting captured by Vegapunk, by the giant robot that took out the shark. And a young lady walks out of it and introduces herself as, you call me Dr. Vegapunk. And it's just the whole reason that I have a hard time believing that this is the Vegapunk that we've heard so much about. I do love your theory that it could just be like the daughter of Vegapunk, and she is also a doctor. But it's just any time that we've had a glimpse of Vegapunk or somebody's referred to Vegapunk, it's that crazy old man or that grouchy scientist or something like that. It's just been alluded to that he's very old and a guy, and neither of these character traits apply to this Dr. Vegapunk. But there's also the whole Punk O2, which makes me think that she could be just a super advanced like cyborg or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why I mean she could be a super advanced cyborg who's treated like Vegapunk's daughter or something. But I still think that it's I mean, One Piece could definitely go the route where it's like, oh, it's a clone with Vegapunk's mental patterns, because the old Vegapunk got too old and died or something. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure Oda would go that direction, but
Yeah, it could
could.
literally be anything. Because I mean, the Devil Fruits egg could do anything. We've established that Vegapunk has been able to clone Devil Fruits, but it does definitely has the character trait that it seems is consistent with Vegapunk's things. Is that so many things are considered a failure, even though they are monstrously powerful and successful. There's just
Yeah.
that one little thing that's not right to stop it from being perfect in Vegapunk's eyes. And while we're being introduced to this Dr. Vegapunk, she says, "Oh, I don't understand this. I just told the shark to do all these things. I didn't tell it to eat anything, but it just seems impossible to control the urges of living creatures." And it's like, okay, so that definitely seems very Vegapunk-y. So, but they also establish themselves as not allies. But it just this is all conversations I'm very excited to see the next. I'm just like
Yeah.
everything cut too short. I want to. It's like when a movie cuts away from a scene and you're like, wait, I feel like that conversation wasn't over. Like,
Which is like every One Piece chapter ending in the past couple weeks. Like,
absolutely.
uh, there's always a cliffhanger. Uh,
Yeah, he's a master at cliffhangers, and this one wasn't even like a big action cliffhanger. It was just like, oh boy, just revelation after revelation, and
yeah, well, Oda is great at just like ending on like not even like you want to know what like not on like a mystery, but like ending on like a big revelation about something, and then you're like, well, that's not really like a mystery, but I want to know more. Like, give me like there's it's not really like a classical cliffhanger like a question is asked and then you're waiting for the answer. It's like a question is answered and then you're waiting for more details.
yeah.
Uh, so
Well, yeah, I mean, there's just so many options on what this. I mean, we're just dying to know more about Vegapunk. This is the reveal of Vegapunk, and it's in classic Oda. We get one question answered with something that'll bring up three more questions, and yeah, just it could be he transferred his consciousness. It could be a different person entirely, just a sibling or a daughter of Vegapunk. There's just so many options. But another thing I'm pretty excited about too is just I'm a big fan of Tashigi. It kind of relates to one of my one of the theories. It's one of One Piece's oldest theories is that Zoro's lady friend that he trained with as a kid who quote unquote died by falling down the stairs. That just seems all too convenient. And I really think I still believe Tashigi is her. It's just she maybe had her memory wiped or something like that. It seems very world government to like go around and be like, oh, this is a very gifted child. Well, they'd make a great marine. wipe their memory and kidnap them and make fake their death, so then we can use this person as a marine. I keep waiting for that, but just the tease that we could possibly have Tashigi and Zoro meeting up again could possibly lead up to more of that revelation. I hope, because that's definitely the
Yeah.
most interesting thing to happen. It just seems too weird to just be like, oh no, you just look and sound and act exactly like the girl I grew up with.
Yeah, and it's like, we got a bit more of Zoro's backstory in Wano, but like, there's still Zoro's backstory is easily the worst of any of the Straw Hat backstories. So like, any hint that there could be something more there is greatly appreciated. And it's great seeing Tashigi again because it's been a while since we've seen her. And as you said, like she's tied into one of the oldest theories in One Piece and one of the things that people want to know the most about. Um, so hopefully this means we'll get to see more of her later. I'm not sure we're going to see more of her this arc, but maybe down the line. It's just good to know that Oda hasn't forgotten about her,
Right.
even though Oda never forgets about any characters. So, but it's good to be reminded of that.
Well, I think that Sword and her might have something to do with this next arc coming on, because it just seems like why else would we visit them right now and establish that they're at a nearby island? Like it just to reveal that the Seraphim are on Egghead,
I
possibly.
think just to reveal that Egghead is like Vegapunk's island, kind of like, I mean, or to like set that up even more, right? So it's not just like
Bonnie
out of
saying it.
nowhere, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is definitely establishing it because we get them saying it, and then Bonnie's just like, "Oh no, you guys don't know where you are. This is the government island. Let me explain everything."
Yeah. So, like, it could also be to establish why there aren't Marines on this government island,
Oh yeah.
because you might expect that the Marines would be there in full force around Vegapunk. Um, so there are a couple reasons for it. I feel like it wouldn't make sense to have Groose saying, there's nothing we can do, don't don't bother with Egghead. We're not going to Egghead,
Yeah.
and then have the Marines show up later. Like it seems kind of weird. Maybe Helmeppo and Hibari are going to do like a stealth mission to Egghead,
Yeah.
like
Maybe they'll try to
go
steal a
AWOL.
Seraphim or something.
Yeah. So maybe that will pop up in the arc, but I don't think we're going to get like Tashigi or like Groose or Doll or any of the others.
Yeah, I mean, all the pieces are in play. And I doubt Luffy would remember Helmeppo, but if he just tells him, it's like, oh no, I'm Kobe's friend, and then that could be how they find out about Blackbeard and Kobe and all that stuff. But then again, that could also be something that was in the paper that Hancock was just like, hey, there's some other names you might recognize in here, but do you want me to tell you about them? And Luffy's just like, nah, tell me if they're important. And there's no way that Robin. I mean, I don't think that Robin knows of Luffy's friendship with Kobe and with Hancock.
Yeah, I don't think Luffy really tells people all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
But actually, that was another thought I had is Doll almost looks like she could be like the daughter of former Empress of Amazon Lily, Rayleigh Silver's wife.
maybe I feel like that's a bit of a reach because Oda draws a lot of his women in similar ways. So it's
Okay,
like
good point.
no. So I don't know. It's like you could say, Nami and Robin kind of look related as well.
Hey, that's true. Bonnie is Nami's sister.
Yeah, that's you know, she's got another sister.
Yeah,
Could be Nami. Nami was an orphan, so like
yeah. That's
who
that's
knows who
another
her parents are.
past that we've never had any explanation on, because yeah, Nami and her adoptive sister were like found at sea, and the
Maybe Nami's Vegapunk's kid. She
yeah.
looks kind of like Vegapunk too, kind of.
And yeah, that's another thing is like Vegapunk's design. Like I like the jacket and I like all that stuff. It just she looks a lot like a few characters from Black Clover. There's a character named
Mm.
Luck. That's a pretty cool character in that series. Yeah, it's just and it's definitely not what we imagined Vegapunk to look like. So, um, just very excited. We are unfortunately on break next week, but
Mm.
hopefully we'll be getting more Vegapunk centric information when that comes out. But yeah, I'm just this seems like it's going to be Frankie's arc, and it's been a long time, but Frankie's going to be one that driving the conversations, and uh, just we have so much to learn from Vegapunk. They're responsible for so many things. Like they have the answer to devil fruits. They have the answer to the world government stuff. Like just so much, so much. What are you most anxious to hopefully have revealed with Vegapunk?
Oh, the Kuma stuff. I've been waiting for the Kuma backstory for so long, so we might not get a full Kuma backstory, but any other pieces there, I will happily take.
Yeah, I
I'm
almost
very
wonder if
much
that's
looking forward.
how Bonnie got here, because it was established that Bonnie was, trying to rescue Kuma, and Kuma is, one of the few people in this entire series that has an ability to teleport people somewhere, possibly wherever they need to be most, which is definitely how it worked out with Seabody. Um, but yeah, I could see him teleporting her here after everything went crazy at the Reverie. But I'm not sure if we're going to find out specifically what happened at the Reverie through Bonnie, but that would be an
Yeah, I
interesting
mean,
way to find out.
it could happen that way, but I didn't. I don't think that. Like, I mean, Bonnie went there on a metal ship, or not on a metal ship, on a ship that was eaten by the shark thingy,
Hmm.
right? So, like, I don't know how much Kuma had, how much involvement Kuma had there.
Oh,
Because
true.
Kuma's checked out. Like, Kuma's, there's nothing there anymore, really.
Hmm. Or so
Which
we
could
think.
change over time, but yeah. But for all intents and purposes, Kuma's just gone. Uh, so yeah, but I'm excited to see any of that.
Well, yeah, because I mean, we have Frankie, Usopp, and that crowd, getting swooped up by Vegapunk. So it stands to reason that they're going to be brought back to the island, and we're going to get like the official tour of the island through their perspective, and that's going to be perfect because we're going to have
Yeah.
Frankie just like, oh my god, this is that, this is that. I can't wait to Zoro just be like, this place is weird because he's definitely more of a at home at Wano kind of guy
Mm.
rather than some futuristic place. Oh, and Caribou's there too.
Yeah.
but
Passed out, hopefully.
yeah, passed out hopefully. But you know what? I'd be very surprised if there's not some sort of communication device he can get a hold of on this island to tell whoever he is trying to tell things. So,
Mm.
but yeah, that's about all my notes on this chapter of One Piece. Is there anything else that you wanted to get off your chest, man?
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it for me. I mean, it's a shorter chapter than usual, and a lot of it was taken up by a shark fight, so not as much in it as the past couple chapters, but still a great chapter.
Yeah, as I said, it just feels like, for the lack of a better term, but it just feels more focused. Just because
Yeah.
it's almost the first chapter of a new story of One Piece, a new arc.
Yeah.
So the worst part about it is we're on break next week. So
Yeah. Always the eternal pain.
all right. Well, this has been Mega Manga Mondays, a conversation for One Piece chapter 1061. I'm Jason Hahn, and I would love it if you checked out other episodes of Mega Manga Monday. This definitely isn't our first chat about One Piece. If you enjoy this and haven't heard our others, go back and listen to our chats about previous chapters. We have a great time. We have a bunch of different guests. But yeah, we'll definitely be keeping up with chapter 1062 when that comes out. But follow us on Twitter at Manga Mondays, and you can also go to our website, megamangamondays.podbean.com. Just Googling Mega Manga Mondays will also get you some results. But I also have a YouTube channel called Honzy and Friends. I like to stream on Wednesdays and Sundays, and I even have some comedic Let's Play videos on there. I've played through all of Metal Gear Solid with some friends, some Halo games, and some other stuff. But if you're into video games and some comedy, it will probably make you smile once or twice. But I recently streamed Naruto Ninja Storm 4 with some friends. Just decided to have fun with that because it's getting kind of close to my birthday and just wanted to have fun. So that is one of my favorite multiplayer games, and we had a great time playing that the other night. Um, but yeah, Ben, any plugs or recommendations, man?
Yeah, for recommendations, I can't really think of anything that I haven't recommended before. But for plugs, I have my own YouTube channel as well. It is called YGO from Zero, and on it, I sort of go over historical formats of the Yu-Gi-Oh trading card game and do deep dives into them. So if that sounds up your alley, definitely check it out.
Absolutely. Well, I'll have information on that in the description so you can check that out easily. But also check out screenrant.com. I've got a lot of stuff
Yeah.
in the video game related stuff, and Ben has a lot of really interesting articles in the comics section, very introspective and sometimes just covering new developments in a bunch of series, Marvel, DC, and manga, obviously. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's been a lot of fun, man, and I hope you all enjoyed listening to us chat. And thanks for the time. I look forward to the next one.
Yeah. See y'all next time.